All right, everybody, we've got Amy here, and she is a double stacker, and I'm super excited to have her here on this conversation with us. She has successfully 10x her pricing. She's gone from selling like $500 websites to like $5,000 websites, and she's going to be talking to us a little bit about how that works, and what kinds of insight she's had in her business over the past couple of months. So Amy, why don't you kind of introduce yourself a little bit, talk a little bit about who you are, and we'll kind of jump into our conversation.
Sure. So I've been doing websites for about 11 years, and I just got stuck in a rut, and I was really having a tough time until I met you. And so I knew how to build websites really well, but I didn't really value what I was doing as much. So anyway, it's been a good road.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you. So I have a couple of questions that maybe we can kind of go through. So excuse me, I'm kind of getting over a little bit of a cold. So why don't you talk a little bit about like what business was like kind of before DoubleStack? Like what was your life like? What your projects like? Your pricing? Your client meetings? Like how are things going that made you feel like, hey, maybe we should reconsider this or get some help or just talk
Yeah.
about how things were kind of before we met.
So I was super crushed for time, and I would charge like between $400 $500 per site. Sometimes I'd do a favor for somebody and do it for like $250. And so I was really pressed for time because I had to squeeze in so many websites per month to be able to make ends meet. And so I was doing like tons and tons of websites and just whipping through them really fast and not really giving anybody my best. It was really crazy. So another thing was I was not really doing anybody any favors. I was just kind of dropping them at the curb when they were done and saying, okay, good luck with your site. And I had no residual income at all. So it was feast or famine. If I did a lot of websites, we'd eat. And if I didn't, we'd be searching for stuff to do. So
what kind of things were you doing for your clients before? Were you just pretty much just building a website and then kind of moving on, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. And the websites were not great quality. Even though I knew how to do websites really well, I wasn't putting all of the bells and whistles on because I really couldn't afford to spend that much time on a site. So like they were just getting pretty sites with no SEO. Like everything was really poorly put together. Just it just looked pretty was basically all it was.
Okay, yeah. So I guess what you're saying is you didn't really have like in the budget the time to actually really do your best work.
Right. So, and then people would just kind of like be on their own, like floating in cyberspace, waiting for people to come find them. And that never works. And I knew that it wasn't a good like solution, but I really didn't know any better way because I was just working so hard just to make money that it wasn't in my budget to have the time to put together great sites.
How were you finding the clients before? Like were they just kind of coming to you like by referral, or how did that work?
Yeah, I did get a lot of word of mouth because the prices were so cheap, and so people were like, yeah, we'll tell everybody about it, and they thought they were getting this great deal, and I thought I was doing them all these favors, and it just was, business was good. I had a lot of business, but it wasn't helping anybody in the way that I'm now.
So I guess it probably feels different now.
Yeah.
To onboard clients and to really do everything that they need. And
right.
So what does that kind of look like? What would you say like the differences between then and now?
Well, now I'm more confident to be able to offer them a solution that will keep them going for a long, long time and really build their business rather than just give them a pretty website. The quality of work has gone way up. The marketing skills for after the site is finished have really improved. And so I had one guy go, I made him a landing page, and he said, did you get Allstate's permission to use this? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, they have a web presence that feels similar to this. And did you get their permission to use this? I'm like, I made this up, you know, like this is, and so he totally thought I had stolen it from somebody, and I was like, no, this is all unique. This is all yours, you know, and he couldn't believe it. He was like, this quality is incredible, you know, like, so I think having the time to put into each client has really helped, and the meetings go better now. Like having a conversation with somebody about their website isn't just, okay, how much can you afford and what do you want it to look like, and you know, all the wrong questions, but it's so much better now. I know what to ask, and I know what to talk about, and it just feels better.
That's all. Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing about that. That's really cool. And so another thing that you've kind of mentioned a couple of times is like that recurring revenue aspect of things. It's like, it's not just running the website. It's not that one-time payment. And then like, because that leads to the whole feast or famine issue. Like,
right.
you know, sometimes you get a lot of clients and then you kind of work feverishly until you can kind of get it finished. And then after that, you haven't done any marketing. You haven't really gone out and tried to, you know, done any networking or anything. And the next thing you know, there's nothing. And like, how long does that last? But now you've got some recurring revenue coming in, which sounds like two things are happening. One thing, you've got this more stability in your own business with your own income and your own revenue coming in. But you also have, you know, more of an ability to really help your clients because you're there for longer. Like you can keep doing the stuff that matters. Do you feel like that's kind of, do you feel like I'm hearing you right? Or is that kind of what you're
definitely. So I've got like about $2,500 in recurring revenue right now per month. And so that's nice. That's something we can budget around. And then all the website income is just kind of gravy on top of that, you know, like, so getting a website client is really nice, but it's not like I'm sitting there trying to do it, but they still come in. I'm still getting quite a few referrals, and I'm not really actively out there looking for people, but they just come to me. And so that's nice that I haven't lost that aspect, and that there's still quite a bit of business coming through, and that I can plan on, you know, eating every month and paying my bills, budgeting and all that stuff. So that's nice.
That's awesome. Well, let me ask you this. And so I know that we've been working together now for a while. I think maybe August did we start working together? I can't remember exactly when it was.
Yeah.
So I imagine you probably, you know, came across like DoubleStack, and you probably watched the webinar. And I think you were part of that Building High Value WordPress Websites Facebook group for a little bit before we started working together. What was it like when you kind of watched the webinar, joined the group, and then you're like, yeah, maybe we should really do this? Like, what was that decision-making process like for you?
Well, I sat and watched from the sidelines for a long time. I felt like all your videos were really speaking to me, but I was really scared of like what the commitment was going to be like, and whether I could afford it. And, you know, I just didn't know, like I had never done anything like that before. And so I just watched for a long time and finally decided, you know, I'm going to need to just invest in myself and take that step. And it really just had, like, all the videos up to that point had just made so much sense to me. And it's like you were really speaking exactly to me. And I really wanted to have that higher quality business. I wanted to have things be at the next level. So when I jumped in, there was no looking back. It was all just, it was a great program put together really well. You offered way more support than I had ever imagined. And like your level of commitment, and really, you, like, every time I would submit something to you to look at, you'd come back with this like 2-page letter coming back that was so detailed. And it was so nice that you had put all that personal time into my stuff, because I felt like I definitely got my money's worth. And it was so nice to have so much attention to my business. And it just really felt good, like I had made the right choice.
That's awesome. Thank you. Well, what would you say are like the big picture, like a big picture change that you kind of made to your business, or maybe to your mindset, or like, you know, what's kind of one of the big takeaways that you took from all of this?
I think the biggest one is that I have the skills to be able to offer what the big marketing companies are offering, and to be able to charge the prices that are showing the value of what I'm doing. You know, like, I feel like I'm offering something so much better than I used to be. And the mindset has really changed so that I don't feel bad asking for the higher prices, because I feel like people are definitely getting their money's worth.
And they're confusing your work with Allstate.
I know, isn't that funny?
That's awesome. So, did you feel like that you had any sort of like game changing revelation? Like, was there like a moment where you're like, yeah, you know what? I really should be charging higher prices, or I really should, have these like long-term relationships with my clients and not just sell individual like one-off websites? Or did you have any kind of moment where you're like, yeah, I really ought to, make this change, and this is what it ought to look like?
Yeah, it was just sort of gradual as I was working with you. Like, there was no like defining moment where I automatically changed, but it was just sort of like everything pouring in, and I was learning as I went, and just felt like, yeah, I am good enough to do this, and this is, who I want to be. And it did change, and it changed drastically, but I can't like pinpoint a certain time when it happened.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Cause I can remember a couple of times when we were talking, like how I had our Thursday calls and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of times you're like, yeah, like this really does seem within reach. And
Yeah.
it seemed like that you're putting a lot of effort and work into it, which is awesome. Like I could see that you're really committed. And what was really cool was not only were you committed, but you're like, I think at one point you said to me, when I first started, I didn't know if this was really for me. It seemed like it was maybe kind of overwhelming, but really, the business that you've always wanted really is right there within reach.
Right.
So,
Right.
So that was really cool to hear, and to kind of see that come about. And now you've got these clients you're charging like 5 or 10 times more than before. You're not pricing yourself out of the market. And in fact, you're actually getting better clients that really appreciate your work, and you're setting yourself up to be able to do your actual, like actually put all your skills in place to really help people.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. So, so let me ask you one last question. So to kind of wrap things up here, like if you were going to give somebody like a tip or a piece of advice, or something that you've learned, or just something to kind of encourage people, what would you say is like, what would you say to kind of encourage people to kind of jump in and do what you're doing?
I would say don't be afraid of success, because you can be as successful as you decide to be. And it was something that kind of scared me. Like, well, what if I don't know how to do it? Or what if I don't know everything I'm going to need to know? What if I get out there and people find out that I'm faking it or something? And I'm not faking it. Like it's totally genuine. And so I would say don't be afraid to be successful and to put everything out there and make your business what you want it to be.
That's awesome. I appreciate it. I think that you're right. I think there's people out there. I know there's people out there that think, well, maybe it would work for Amy, but I don't know if it's going to work for me. That kind of idea. And what you're saying is, hey, don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to be successful. You can do this, and it really is. Do you feel like there's something that's like special or magical about you that doesn't apply to other people?
No, I'm not like super talented in anything. Like, it's just putting in the time and work to learn something new, and being open-minded enough to accept a different way of thinking. So
the one thing that I think that you really embody is you really put effort and work into it. It's like one of the things that I'll say a lot to people. It's like, hey, if you really want to build a business like this, let's do it. We can do it together, but I'm not going to do it for you. We're going to be working together. I'm going to work on it with you.
Right.
And you did a great job with really, maybe internal motivation might be a good word. Like the whole idea is like, hey, I've got access to all the resources I need. I'm in a community of people who are legitimately doing this exact same thing. Why not me? And why not now?
Right.
And you did that. And that's a really big step, because a lot of people, I think the number one thing really that really holds people back is not being willing to take that first step. I'm just going to kind of watch the free videos and kind of sit on the sidelines, just kind of do the best that I can from that. And like I tried the best that I can with those videos, but if there's like over 1,000 people in that group, it's very difficult to do any kind of one-on-one
Right.
With what does your website look like? What do your landing pages look like? What do your proposals look like? How do you run a meeting with your clients? You know,
Right.
and what
And those
markets
things
are you
have helped
focusing
so
on?
much. Those aspects have like really changed my business, to be able to write good proposals and have good meetings and research companies. And like, I didn't realize you had to like look at how people were doing before you meet with them. Like that was a big eye opener to me. But you know, those things really have changed my business and the way I think about things.
That's awesome. I really admire your ability to take hold of that stuff and like you say, hey, you know what? I want to do better for myself. I want to build my business and I'm going to do something about it. And you really take action. And you know, I wish it was more common, you know, but you really have that and did a great job at it. And now look, you've got the
Thank
success to show for it. It's really been
Yeah.
wonderful working with you, especially, and you're so open, like you said, you know, being really coachable to the whole idea that, hey, you know what? You know, it used to be effective to sell websites to people, and you used to be able to charge thousands of dollars for it, even a few years ago. But, you know, as time has moved on, it's like websites are cheaper and cheaper, and SEO services get cheaper and cheaper. And just, if you're the kind of person that's just like uploading, you know, pictures to somebody's WordPress site or whatever, it's just really inexpensive. That type of service is just, you just can't charge a lot for it. And consequently, you end up accepting more work and doing worse quality because you're rushing, and nobody ends up winning. Like you end up burning yourself out. Your client's not getting your best work. But, and you kind of took that shift and said, you know what? You know, wouldn't it be better if not only you were making more money and the money was more consistent, but you're also driving better results for your clients at the same time, because you now have the time and the resources to really put into it. And
well, the thing that really opened my eyes recently was like on the weekends, I have time to sit and do the things I want to do. Like I used to just work nonstop every day, all the time. And now I'm like, what do? I'm finished with my work. Like,
I love it. Like, that's great. Yes, that's a huge point. I'm really glad that you brought that up. The whole lifestyle thing now. It's you know, the feast or famine issue is not just a financial thing. It's a lifestyle thing.
Yeah. So like I was practicing guitar and getting on the piano and.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know you played the guitar.
Yes. And then taking walks and like all these things. And it was just so much fun just to have time for me, you know.
That's so cool. I play the guitar. We could have been talking about it all this time. I didn't know you played the guitar. That's awesome.
Well, I'm learning it. I play keyboard mostly, but.
Yeah, I knew you played the keyboard.
Yeah, so I'm trying to pick up the guitar too. And so I just dink around on it. I don't know how to play it very well, but it's fun to try, you know.
Yes. Yeah. Have you gotten past the point where your fingers hurt all the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Calluses or whatever?
Yeah, so I can practice for a longer time now, which is fun. But
that's awesome, Amy. That's super. A double round of applause. That's awesome. Well, very cool. Well, thanks so much for showing up. I know it's kind of early this morning, especially where you are with our time zone difference and everything, but it was awesome connecting. And yeah, definitely we'll stay in touch, be a part of this group, you know, and everything. So that's awesome. And super huge congratulations on everything that you're doing with your business and like, you know, serving your clients at a deeper level. So, so if you guys have been kind of watching this and you're like, hey, you know what, you know, I kind of want to do what Amy's doing, you know, head over to doublestack.net/call and you'll find a little calendar that'll pop up and we can talk one-on-one about it and see if it's going to be a good fit for you. It's not necessarily a good fit for everybody. But if this is the kind of stuff that you want to be doing with your business and you want to like figure out how can you kind of get that freedom in your life while still, you know, 5 or 10xing your revenue, then let's get on the phone and talk about it, because there's definitely an opportunity for that type of lifestyle, that type of business, that type of revenue coming in. And if you want to be making like 5 to 10 grand every single month consistently with a workload that's not stressing you out, then yeah, let's totally talk about how to do it. And I think that you'll find that it's the kind of thing that you can do in a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months rather than a couple of years. It doesn't take like 2 or 3 years to scale like that at all. So, so I just want to invite you guys to do that. So if you feel like that's the kind of thing you want to do, head over to doublestack.net/call. It's a free 45-minute one-on-one session with me, and we'll just talk about it. We'll see, you know, what's going on in your business. What are your clients like? What's your current pricing like? What's your lifestyle like? You know, how is that affecting your family and your friends and your hobbies and your relationships and, you know, all of those types of things. And, you know, what can we do to get that back on track so that you actually have the best of both worlds? So you have this really awesome business where you're really helping clients, you're making all kinds of money doing it. Everybody's, you know, feeling the success on that side, and you're also, you have this lifestyle where you're hanging out with your friends and your family, and you've got some resources to actually go out and take some vacations, and whatever it might be that you need to do. I just want to, one of the main reasons that we do these conversations is to really just show people, hey, this type of thing really does exist. Lots of people are doing it, and you could too. So if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in, head over to doublestack.net/call. You'll see my calendar. You can book a 45-minute session. And right after picking the time, you'll see a quick little form that you can fill out that'll give me like a link to your website and type a little bit about your business and what's going on, so that I can prepare ahead of time before we get on the call, so that we can just really cram as much value into that 45-minute session as we can. And again, we'll talk about what kind of pricing you should have, and how do you find clients if you feel like you're not having the ability to find the right clients. We can talk about that. We can dial in your marketing materials. All of those types of things will happen in that actual 45-minute call. And then if you want to work together after that, we can talk about that too. So it's not a sales call. It's really more, I call it like a breakthrough session, where we just talk to see if this is the kind of stuff that you want to do. And then at the end of the conversation, if you kind of want my help to implement some of that stuff, we can talk about that part too. If not, then just let's do the call, and then you kind of come away with some really great insight into your business that you probably haven't had before. So that's kind of what we're doing. Head over to doublestack.net/call, pick that time, and I look forward to talking to you. See you soon.